My name is Rabbi Hershel Lieber,
And my name is Pesi Lieber.
and we are here to talk about and to bring our memories back to Mrs. Helena Vasilevich. Do you remember the first time we met her?
Oh, yeah, very clearly. We met her at the Lauder camp about the third time we went in Zaborov, which is a suburb of Warsaw.
And I would think that was something like 1990 or 1991. And we met her actually with her son, Kuba. Do you remember
It was
that?
very, yeah, it stands out in my mind because we were sitting at a seminar, at a lecture in the camp, and there were many people around us, and we didn't really know her yet. And then there was a little boy there, cute little boy, maybe about 3 or 4 years old, and suddenly he just stood up and started running. And Helena was like a little surprised, but she got herself up and started running after him, but she just couldn't catch him.
You know what I remember from Helena, which really was unusual. We were in Poland, and we started going to Poland for basically to connect with Yidden there. I started going in 1979. I went to Daven der Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And then many subsequent trips was to meet some of the young people which were begging to connect with Jews over the world, to know their traditions, to know their religion. The religion was far from them, even if they knew they were Jewish.
Right. But then when we went to the camp, just about every summer, so we met Helena and Kuba many times.
And was what an opportunity that we had with her, which was unusual for us. We hardly knew any Polish. Today we know a little bit enough that we can have some conversation in Polish. But at that time we didn't know any Polish. And English was also only known by a small segment of the visitors to the camp. But Helena was a pleasure. We were able to speak to her in Yiddish, and a heimische Yiddish.
And an excellent Yiddish.
An excellent Yiddish. She was educated with a Yiddish education as a child. And we were able to relate and talk and laugh and tell stories. She told her stories, we told our stories. We had a wonderful relationship because we had a bond of the same similar language.
Yes, and she was intelligent. She was really good company.
Oh, she was really great company.
Yeah.
You know, when we look at her accomplishments, what she did in a small town of Chenstochov, I'm speaking on behalf of the town, very small Jewish population there. But whatever was Jewish in that town, whatever had to do with Yiddishkeit, not necessarily a very religious Yiddishkeit, but Jewish culture,
Tradition.
Jewish song, tradition, Chagim, Yom Tovim, even sometimes Shabbosim, anything that went in that had to do with Yiddishkeit, she was the koyach, she was the address for that.
Right. But most of all, what I admire was her amazing sacrifice. What did she do? She had this one and only son, and she was determined to see that he received a Torah Jewish education. And she would go to all lengths to accomplish that.
And it started, actually the camp probably propelled it, but she had it in her before.
Right.
And she took him to Warsaw and made a bris for him. And this bris propelled a thought of maybe sending him to a yeshiva, sending him to a school. But it wasn't easy in the beginning. He had no language. He had no idea how to bring him to America without English or to Israel without Hebrew. There was no thought about that. So she went and picked herself up and she moved to Warsaw. so that he should get the minimal Yiddish education there in the Lauder school.
Yes. He learned how to daven from a sitter and beautifully, beautifully. And we just had to wait for the right time until he was ready to come to the States, to the yeshiva.
Do you remember, not only did she go to Warsaw, she went to Kishinev, to Russia, where he had his bar mitzvah, with the idea of maybe he would study in the yeshiva there. And soon after, when he came back and he finished that year, she sent him to America. He was about 15 years old. Now, isn't that a sacrifice?
That's an amazing sacrifice. She had no one else. He was her only family. And this reminds me, she was so determined. It reminds me of the story that we read in the Sefer of Shmuel, of Hannah and Penina. Hannah wanted a child and waited many, many years until finally, she went to the temple in Shiloh, and Eli the Kohen told her, "You will have a child, don't worry." And sure enough, a year later, Shmuel was born, and Hannah went after he was of age, of a couple of years old, very young child. And she took him to Shiloh and left him there to be raised in the temple, where he eventually became the prophet Samuel. This is what Helena did. She had her sacrificed her son. She gave up the bond that she nurtured him and her company and her family, and sent him away so he could learn Torah.
I'll tell you, there's a story that I always remind myself. She was a very overprotective mother because he was the only child. She hovered over him. She constantly took care of him, ran after him when he was a child, and even when he was older, constantly, did you eat, did you drink, did you do everything? It's already time to go to sleep. Are you dressed right? Whatever it is, she took care of him. And the story that I remind myself is really, really very funny. Kuba came to America. He grew up. He went to yeshivas. He did very well. Baruch Hashem, he was matzliach. He became a very religious young man, a very elchi young man. Sincere, but with a great sense of humor and with a smile, with happiness.
With a gentle demeanor. He was just really, we loved him.
And we still do.
And we still do, when he came. Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is that although his mother was very overprotective of him, he became quite independent. He was able to do a lot of things himself. When you have a mother, which in Yiddish you say, verpiescht a Kind, makes the child sometimes depend on him, but Kuba was able to fend for himself as a young boy, as a young man, and as in the later ages as well.
In a new country, in a new culture,
new language. And one year I was in Poland by a Limud
conference.
Right. And Helena was there. And she came over to me, how is my Kuba doing and everything. And I told her, you know what? I must tell you something. I always remembered you as the typical Yiddish mother, but even more than typical, extreme Yiddish mother that is verpieshtet the Kind, constantly wondering about, did he eat enough? Did he sleep enough? Is he dressed right? Is he cold? Is he hot? Everything. Did he take any medicines? Whatever it is, she was always worrying about him. And it reminded me of a very famous Yiddish song. Auf dem Weg steht a Bäum, steht a eingebogen. The song speaks about a tree with birds on it, and the tree, and this little boy wants to be a bird. He wants to climb the tree and fly free. And he climbs the tree and sits on the tree. And the mother tells him, what are you doing? You're climbing the tree. It's so cold up there. Tidahun ashaliko. Put on a scarf. Soll sich nicht verkühlen. You shouldn't catch a cold. Put on a scarf. The mother sings to the son to put on, keep warm. And you, Helena, remind me of that type of mother. We both laughed, smiled. We went to sleep that night. The next morning, Helena comes to me and says, Rabbi Lieber, can you do me a favor? I have a package to send to Cuba. Would you take it with you? I said, of course I would take it, but I must tell you one thing. Being that it's dangerous to take things from other people, and they may ask me what if I'm bringing from somebody else, did I see what I'm bringing? I'd like to look in the package so I should know exactly what's there and there should be no problems. She says, Prosha, look into the package. I open up this little box. The first thing on the box was a shaliko, a scarf was laying there. We both looked at each other and we burst out laughing. That was Helena, the wonderful Yiddish mama that we will always remember.
Right. And I remember something I'll never forget. When Cuba graduated from high school, Helena came to the graduation and she was so proud that part of her goal was accomplished. He was graduating from high school with a Yiddish education and beloved by the whole student body and by the faculty. And they asked him to come up. He got a special award and speak. And what did he say? He addressed Helena in Polish first to thank her for taking him from a dark place to a holy place of light and learn Torah. I have to say there was not a dry eye in the whole audience. It was so inspiring. And this is what she did. She was determined to give him up so that he could reach this goal.
We were very, very shocked. We knew that she wasn't well, and Kuba would always tell us she had this problem, that problem, but nevertheless we were shocked at a relatively young age. Helena was nifta, she passed away. And when we go to Poland, we make it our business to go to the Beis Olam, to visit her keva, and to tell her how much nachas that what she did and what she accomplished, and how much nachas she has now in heaven, and how much nachas that we have in seeing him grow and prosper. And Metz Hashem, the biggest nachas happened only a little over a year ago when he got married. And Baruch Hashem, to such a wonderful, wonderful girl.
And a wonderful family.
Beautiful, Baruch Hashem.
Beautiful.
And what we wish him now is the next step in life, to start a family and to bring his koiches, his talents, his energy, his feelings, his heart, his soul to his children in the future, together with his wife, Elisheva,
lovely girl.
To grow in Torah, Yiddishkeit, love, and caring, and we
to
wish
continue
the
legacy of what Helena wanted.
Right.
This is what she dreamed of.
We're proud of them all, and we like to.
She was an amazing person.
Share this memory with you. Thank you.